Hey, it's James from JK Workshop. I just made a small improvement to my sawhorses that's hopefully going to be a big improvement to my workflow. Check it out. We just got out of a bit of a deep freeze here with a stretch of days hitting around minus 35 degrees Celsius.
It's a cold town.
Things have warmed up to a balmy minus 10 degrees now. Still too cold for me to be doing most project, but there are a couple of small ones I can tackle. I have these old sawhorses that I use for rough cutting longer boards, breaking down plywood, painting, staining, as well as just a makeshift extra work surface. I still want to use them for those things, but I want to make them more functional and stable. Sawhorses? Stable? No? Okay. So the idea is super simple. I'm just going to be adding cross-lap joints to a couple of 2x4s and putting them between the two sawhorses. I'm going to be adding a support in the middle as well. A cross-lap joint is where you cut notches into two of your workpieces and they just lock together like this. Alright, first I'm going to measure and mark where my notches will go. Now, you can use any length 2x4s for this, but I'm using two 6-foot boards and one 3-foot board as a cross-piece support. You'll want to cut the notches the width of a 2x4 and the depth to be halfway down. If you don't like the math, a quick way to find the center of a board is to use a ruler, hold it on an angle with the edge on a number divisible by 2, and yeah, you guessed it, divide by 2. So in this case, my edges are on 0 and 4 inches, so I will mark my depth at 2 inches. Next, I will set my combination square to that depth and use it to mark out the rest of the notches. So here's a mistake that I'm glad I caught before I made any cuts. The middle notch is supposed to be on the other side of the 2x4. If I had it on this side, then the cross piece would just drop straight to the floor. So glad I caught that beforehand. You can cut these out in a number of ways. I'm going to use my circular saw on the existing sawhorses and my table saw for the rest. First, you would set the depth of the cut on your circular saw, but unfortunately for me, I only have a tiny little circular saw and it can't cut the full depth of the notch.
You have been weighed, you have been measured, and you have been found wanting.
Next, I'll clamp a board to guide my cut. I'll use my 2x4 test piece as a spacer to make the first cut. Then remove it and make the cut for the other outside edge. Once that's done, I'll make multiple passes between these two to remove the material from the middle. I used my pull saw to cut that extra little depth I needed. You can use a chisel, file, or sandpaper to clean up the joint. It really doesn't have to be perfect though. I then repeated the process for the other notches on the sawhorses. For the rest of the boards, I used my table saw where I could cut the full depth of the notch. The process was the same though. Cut the outsides first, and then make multiple passes to clear out the middle. Today's video is brought to you by this cat. Of course I don't have any sponsors for these videos, but if you'd like and subscribe, the cat would really appreciate it. So here's the end result. They slot into place nicely, and you can already see that it gives me a much more usable place to cut boards, sheet goods, clamp workpieces down. I can also now just throw on a piece of cardboard for when I'm painting or spraying. And I have a lot of room to lay out multiple pieces if I need to. It's easy to break back down and move out of the way when I don't need it. It's also super portable if I ever need to move it to another location. I know this was really simple, but honestly, I'm really happy with the extra workspace this gives me. And I couldn't find any other videos on YouTube about this, so hopefully you found it helpful. Let me know if you use something similar in your shop. I'll be doing some smaller projects in the next few months and some bigger projects in the spring. I don't know why I said it like that. So make sure you like and subscribe to check those out. See ya.